Yo, what is? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yes, too soon, but that's all right. All right, what is going on, everybody? This is Ryan A. Polk, and welcome to another episode of the rap radio show. And as you guys already know, we are here every Thursday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And here on the rap radio show, we talk about anything. And if you wanna call in for any questions, concerns, or to give us some grief, or to even argue with us, we're all for it because that's what we like to do. We love a good debate. You can call in at 216-939-5087. That is 216-939-5087. And always, man, I gotta introduce, man, my lovely producer, Decisive.
Hey Ryan, what's going on?
Oh man.
Or should I say
what?
dog check?
Oh man. Oh man. It's going.
It's
going good.
one of those type of days.
Yes,
it happened to be with you this week.
Well, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'll take it. I need some excitement in my life.
Yeah.
But it's all good. And also with me today, I got me a very special guest, man. This guy, yes, he is my frat brother. He is a juvenile judge here in the city of Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Please welcome Judge Michael Ryan.
Thanks, Fred. I appreciate the invitation to come and share this afternoon. Again, I am Judge Michael John Ryan. I am one of 6 judges that serve the Carroll County Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Division. And I am just, like I said, honored to be on your show this afternoon.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad that you came on.
Yes, we're honored to have you.
Yes. Because I'm like, when I was looking him up, I'm like, wait a minute, man. Okay, so I got me a little bit of a local celebrity here on the show. Okay,
I don't want to go that far now.
We got the Judge Mathis of Cleveland here. Okay, man. And also, Frat. You also have a bit of a camp. You also got a bit, man, of a campaign right now going on, man. So yes,
true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So why don't you tell our listeners, man, that which position you're running for?
Okay, I am, like I said, I'm currently a common pleas court judge, so I serve the entire county, Cuyahoga County, but I am a candidate for Ohio's 8th District Court of Appeals. And the way that the districts are divided is that there are 12 districts throughout the state of Ohio. I think there are only 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken, that have one county designated to that particular district. So, Cuyahoga County has the 8th district. Hamilton County, which is in Cincinnati, has the 10th district.
Yeah.
Franklin County, I believe, is it's the 12th. I might be getting those numbers mixed up, but we have singular counties. Other districts have multiple counties within those districts.
Yeah.
And that's primarily due to their sizes because they're so small. Cuyahoga County, Hamilton, Franklin, some of the larger counties in the state. And so while I do serve Cuyahoga County, I'm actually a judge for the state of Ohio if I'm, elected on November 8th, 2022. So if I have that privilege to be elected by the people, it's the second highest court or elected court in the state. And I say elected because you also have the federal court system here, but people are appointed there. And so appellate court judges, they're responsible for determining if the trial courts, where I am currently now, got it right.
Yeah.
So if somebody disagrees with the decision that the judge makes at the juvenile court or at the Court of Common Pleas General Division or probate, or domestic relations or any of the municipal courts throughout the county, then their objection goes to the 8th District Court of Appeals, and there's usually a 3-judge panel. That 3-judge panel then decides, okay, did the judge get this correct? If they say the judge got it correct, they affirm the judge. It has to be either 2 judges or all 3. And if they decide the judge did not get it correct, and so they will reverse that judge, give the judge guidance on how to do it correctly. And again, that has to be 2 judges or all 3 to make that decision.
Oh wow! I didn't even know that's how it goes when it comes to being elected.
Oh yeah.
For it.
And then of course, above the 8th district is the actual House Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is that there's no guarantee that your case will go to the House Supreme Court. They choose which cases go there. It normally has to be some controversy between all the districts before they'll decide to hear a case, or they think it's really noteworthy and they need to make a decision on it. But you generally have a right to appeal matters to the 8th District Court of Appeals or to the Court of Appeals in your area, but you don't have a right to have your case heard by the House Supreme Court. So the Court of Appeals for a lot of people is the court of last resort.
Yeah.
So people need to be conscious of who they are selecting in those seats. And when you don't find out who's in that seat and you skip over that particular election, you are in fact making a choice for somebody else.
Oh man!
Wow!
Wow! That's interesting, man. Learn something new every day.
Yeah. So that's why I always stress how important it is to vote for judges. And what's really concerning for me, having been an elected official for the last 17 years, is that people will vote for mayor, they will vote for congressperson, they'll vote for governor, they'll definitely vote for president, but they will skip over the judicial races.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, and it's like almost a 30% drop off. So you have 10 people that are going to vote. It might be more than that. Maybe I'll say 60 sometimes. 10 people going to vote. 6 will vote for down the entire ballot. 4 will only vote for the what we call the upper ballot offices, and just skip the judicial races. And a lot of them will say the reason why they're skipping the judicial races is because they don't know the judge. I mean, the judges don't have a lot of, they don't get a lot of money to do the commercials like some of the other political candidates.
Yeah.
And generally, judges aren't in the community like your council person or mayoral candidates. But what people don't realize about judges is that judges are the only elected officials who we give the power to take away our property, our life, our liberty, sometimes our kids. They're the only officials that can do that. And, to say that you're going to skip those races really doesn't make any sense, because you want to make sure you're putting the right people into those positions to make the right choices.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. Because that's pretty interesting, man. How they skip over y'all, because it seems like okay, because it seems like that when it comes to people running for judges in certain positions, you would think that that right there is very important, because a criminal has to face a judge a lot of time when they're in a situation. But the fact that they skip over y'all, that is pretty unfair.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather people make conscious decisions on those races as opposed to skipping over them. If you're gonna go vote the entire ballot. Know who you're voting for in each race.
Wow. Yeah, because we do hope, man, that you get elected. So yes, definitely go out there, man, and vote man for my frat because
Thank you.
because he's definitely, he's out here, man. He's out here trying to make a difference. And speaking of that, so since of course we're on this topic of of judges, what made you get into that field?
Well, you know what? I grew up here in the city of Cleveland, and I grew up in a family that was involved in the judicial system, but on the other side. So, you know, I didn't meet my biological father until I was about 25 because right after I was born, he went to prison. And he wasn't even actually around when I was born. My mom was really young. She was 14 when she got pregnant with me. And my biological father he got ghost after he got her pregnant. And it was because of what he was dealing in. And he wound up going to federal prison for bank robberies. So, you know, by the time he got out, my mom had already moved on. She moved on when she was pregnant with me. And my stepfather, who I thought was my dad for most of my life, he wasn't he wasn't a this um, innocent individual himself. You know, right before my sister was born, he went to prison. So I had to be about, I think I was a year and a couple of months, or maybe just a year when he went to prison. And then when I was in fifth grade, um, about to transition to the sixth grade, it was the summer, I was actually in court when he got sentenced 4 to 25 years for act burglary.
Oh,
So,
wow.
you know, I knew the justice system, you know, what it looked like, the outlay of it, well before I was an attorney. Because I was down there visiting my stepdad, who I just considered to be my dad, when he was at the county jail and lockup. I had to go visit uncles and cousins. And so, you know, nobody had to tell me when I arrived there for when I was in law school and I was going and observing courtrooms, and then I started working at the Justice Center. I knew where all the bathrooms were, I knew where all the elevators were, I knew the difference between court towers and the administration building because court towers, that's where all the courtrooms were.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I had a familiarity with that. And so, um, you know, because I grew up that way, when I went to college, my intent was not to become an attorney. I didn't want to have anything to do with courts because I felt that, you know, judges, lawyers, all they do is separate families.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, but when I went to Allegheny College, I actually went there to become a teacher because I went through so much as a kid. And the one place that was a refuge for me, the place that really where I could thrive and could be safe was school. And so I said, you know, I want to be able to provide that type of influence and impact on young people like school was for me. So I want to be a teacher. So I went to Allegheny College with the intent of becoming a teacher. They had a 5-year program there. And when I arrived my freshman year, they brought all the people who were interested in this 5-year education program where you received your master's in education, teacher certificate, all within that 5-year frame. I said, they told us that they were terminating the program because Allegheny College didn't want to become Allegheny University. They didn't want any graduate programs any longer. And I was like, well, that's the reason why I came here. Well, one of the reasons. But that was a major reason. So I was like, I started thinking about transferring. And so I went and talked to my advisor, and she said, don't leave yet. She said, do you like the environment? Do you like the student to teacher ratio? And I liked the small campus. I was playing, you know, football, running track, and I liked my friends. I liked the university, but you know, just the program was there no longer, and that was one of the the major reasons why I was there.
Yeah.
And so she said, take, you know, some more classes. and see if something else piques your interest. And sure enough, I took a class called Civil Liberties.
Yeah.
And that class was a more in-depth discussion about the Bill of Rights. And the professor was Robert Settick. And he did such an amazing job of breaking the Constitution down and talking about the law in a different way than my teacher did at Heights about American government, American history. It was so different, and I left that class with a different perspective about the law. I said the law is not there to hurt people; it's there to help. And so I went back to my advisor. I said, "Listen, I want to be a lawyer. How do I do it?" And the rest is history. So that's how I got involved in the judicial system, and how I wound up becoming a judge is because as an attorney, I advocated for one particular person or one particular entity at a time.
Yeah.
So that's where my focus was on that particular client. And so as a prosecuting attorney, I advocated for victims. I advocated for the police. As a criminal defense attorney, I advocated for for the accused, for their family. As a personal injury attorney, I advocated for my victim.
Wow, so you done seen it all. Oh, man.
As an attorney
various.
And I was an employment law attorney, so I represented people who had been wrongfully terminated, and also represented employers too who were being accused of wrongfully terminating. And so I always advocated on one side, and I just felt I didn't feel fulfilled doing that, and I was always in courtrooms and always seeing what judges were doing, and it seemed as though they had the most control and ability to impact everybody within the system. And I said, that's what I want to do. I want to not just help my client, but I want to impact everyone. So we have outcomes that are satisfying everyone who's been a part of this system. And so that's when I decided to run for judge.
Oh man, wow, that's interesting. I mean, and still the fact that you done seen it all with different various types, man, of cases, and also and being and like just defending so many. You defended you defended both, man, the defendant and the hand plaintiffs before, and you also have had defended the ones who be trying to file for workers' comp and everything. Yes, you done did it all.
I have I've had a very diverse practice and a very diverse how put this judicial career, because I've been a judge at the Court of Common Pleas, which deals with the more severe actions, in both criminal and civil. And I've also been a municipal court judge. So, I've dealt with adults for matters like domestic violence, red lights, assaults, um, um, what else? Petty theft, and then I've also dealt with young people with respect to red lights, petty theft, domestic violence, but assaults, but rape, aggravated murder, aggravated robbery, aggravated burglary. And so, in terms of my career, I've seen a lot of cases.
And what would you say was your most? Can you recall your most serious one that you can? Since you sent me, because I know you've had a lot, but was there ever a case that was just like wow, like okay, like where like did the defendant like flip out in court or something like that, or like what was, or like do you remember like what type of case, as far as for like was it like a big like murder case or anything like that?
I've had several murder cases since I've been a judge at juvenile court, which is probably shocking to a lot of people. because in juvenile we hear cases where an individual is 17 years or younger when they are accused of an offense. And so, the same rules of evidence apply to them as do an adult. It's just that the judge makes a determination, unless it's a serious youth offender matter. I'll get into that later. But so I had a case, and usually the murder cases, they obviously stay with me a little longer than the other ones because they're just so severe. But it was a 10-year-old who was accused of murdering his stepmother.
Oh, wow.
And this one got a lot of media play because people just couldn't believe that someone that young could engage in such a
I remember that.
a violent act. But based on the evidence that was submitted during the hearing, it could have been no one but him that actually committed this offense. He made up a story when this initially occurred that it was an intruder who came into the house that he did not know. He didn't know how the person got into the house. All he said is that he heard this person and his stepmother arguing, and the next thing he heard was gunshots. And he indicated that he dropped to the floor. He was able to open the door and saw the person running or walking over the top of his stepmother, and the person supposedly dropped the gun and ran. He says that he picked the gun up and fired at this individual, and the individual ran outside, and because he said he lost, he didn't have any more bullets, so he went into this bedroom, was putting more bullets into the magazine to try to see if he can then put it into the gun and then chase after this individual. And he says that this was an elaborate.
I'm trying to remember this case.
Wow.
Literally, I am.
Who helped him with that?
Who helped him?
Put that story together.
This kid was 10 years old, but he was probably one of the best. I want to say best. He was a very good athlete. He was playing for Unity football, and he he was in the 6th grade, even though he was just 10 years old. So he was a bright kid.
He was smart.
And he was in.
Sure.
And he was in a very, I'm going to say, a high level curriculum. He was attending parochial school, so he wasn't low. I mean, basics education. This was high level education, and he was doing, I thought, extremely well. And so he told this story initially, and the police, when they first heard it, they were like, okay. And then they started to investigate, where the bullet holes were, where the gun was, asking neighbors about, seeing any individuals running, and they didn't find that. So they said something's not right.
Oh, man.
And then they after further investigation, they had to tell the dad, we believe, it was your son. Now, this situation was kind of unique because he was living with his dad because issues with his mom.
Yeah.
And his dad and his stepmother, from all accounts, at least the information that we had, treated him like a prince. And so I'm thinking that if he did kill her, she had been abusing him for years, and that was just not the case. Unfortunately, after all the evidence came out, it was the fact. I mean, I found that he was responsible for murdering her. He shot her 13 or 14 times, and the motive behind that was he was upset that he was being disciplined for getting in trouble at school.
Yeah.
So, she spanked him for getting in trouble at school, and his reaction was to shoot.
How do you feel about the state of the youth today?
that was another question that I was going to get into.
This kid isn't. This kid is not. How do I put it? Hold on, I need to cough. He's not an anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
There's another kid that's in the High Department of Youth Services because at 12 years old he shot and tried to kill a 13-year-old because the 13-year-old was dating his ex-girlfriend who was 14. So you got a 12, 13, and 14-year-old with this love triangle.
That's definitely a love triangle. Yes, that's almost like an entanglement situation.
Yes.
Oh, man.
And he shoots him in, well, I don't say with broad daylight, but with witnesses abound. And there was no mistake about who it was and what the person did. And he almost killed this kid. Oh, and then and I have, several matters that individuals, under 17 years old are accused of killing people or have killed individuals. And so it's a tragedy for the kid, for the family, but for the community to know that people have, or the young people have, that type of animosity in them, that they can't resolve conflicts that they have with people without resorting to the most lethal way of trying to resolve. That they can't talk to each other. They can't communicate with the individuals to de-escalate situations. It's always, doing the most, unfortunately. And I don't know if it's to get likes or it's to get clout, but it's sometimes it's maddening. And it is not all of them. I'm gonna say, especially when you talk about the kids who are at the extreme level, might be 5% of the kids that I see, but that 5% is doing a lot. And that's what's concerning. Some of the other kids are involved in strong arm robberies, taking stuff from people, just physically taking it, or involved in some really petty stuff, and those we kind of divert to avoid having official interactions with the court. But the ones who are out here committing carjackings, they're out here committing aggravated burglaries because they're entering people's properties with firearms, or they're taking firearms, or they're shooting people, or they're committing aggravated robberies with their firearms. Those are the ones that we try to keep um, out of the community so that they're safe and the community is safe as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because in today's world, it's almost especially like with what's going on now in the city. I mean, even though it hasn't been like kids doing these killings and stuff, but I mean, in today's society, you do got a lot. I mean, you do got a lot that's going on, and yes, you definitely do got to keep it safe. And then I never even realized like how many cases you do have where you do have kids that do kill. Like they may kill whether if they're killing a parent, step parent, anything, or even when it comes to shooting up the school, and that right there. I mean, like I do think that like in today's world that like I mean it is getting more crazier out there.
Yeah, I agree with you. We've got to find more ways to impact families so that these young people have different opportunities and avenues for success, so that they're not hopeless. And believe that whatever I do today won't matter years from now. And stop having them live for the moment and have them have a vision of being an old person. Because sometimes, that's what we have when young people are believing that there is no hope. I'm not gonna live past 2025, so let me get mine right now.
Yeah, definitely. And also, and another question I have for you is, so you know how with race, race playing also playing a big part in the justice system. Do you feel like that they look at? Do you feel like that maybe they like look at a defendant differently sometimes? Maybe like since you are African American judge, do you feel like that? Do you feel like that also? Do you feel like that like they probably like view the defendant different or in some situations?
I can't speak on behalf of other judges. I know at times there is implicit bias.
Yeah.
Because we're all human. We bring our histories with us to the bench. Unfortunately, sometimes when individuals are making judgment calls on individuals about facts and the law, and there should be no place for it in the law. I'm going to say that. And people, I don't say people, but judges ought to be really intentional and conscious about how they see an individual based on the perceptions that are out there in society and media perceptions about African American men or women for that matter. Music, historical preference, historical statements about African Americans and how that has played into implicit bias for those judges. They need to be cautious of that. For me, I don't have that issue. Because I grew up in the community, and so when I'm looking at a situation, I'm looking at it from a perspective of one, what do the facts say, okay, about what happened here? Then two, how do when I apply those facts to the law, what's the result? And so I can be more objective. I'm not bringing in implicit bias. Because that just is not relevant for me. I'm looking at this individual and seeing that person and not the color. And so I can make decisions based on what does their background say. Did they experience trauma? Um, is this their first time involved with the court system? What opportunities have they had in the educational system? I'm looking at one, if I find them delinquent, but then if I do find them delinquent, those are the factors I'm considering in terms of what's an appropriate disposition or sentence for young people. I'm looking at all of the services that we have, which one's the best fit for this individual. I look at the severity of the offense too. I don't discount that. And if it's something that says, okay, by releasing this person back in the community, it demeans the seriousness of the offense, then I'm not releasing them back. And I have alternatives in terms of commitments. I can send them to the Ohio Department of Youth Services, which is the prison system for young people. But I can also send them to a community correctional facility, which is a level below that, or to residential treatment, or place them on community control. So I have options that are available. Sometimes, for me, I ask parents, are there other relatives the individual can reside with just to get them out of that environment? And they said yes. And I said, we are grateful to have that as opposed to them being placed somewhere outside the home. So I'm looking at the entire landscape when deciding what's the appropriate disposition. Because I know that this kid and all kids are malleable. They have the ability to change, and I want to give them that option. And if I'm able to do that, and they can change, then we've done our job as it relates to the juvenile court. Because what people don't realize is that for juvenile court, it was built on the premise of rehabilitation and not locking kids up. That's not why that court was established more than 120 years ago. So we need to find a system that's distinct from the adult system, which is based on punitive actions, and do something that's going to rehabilitate, so we can change a wayward child's um, path, and that's why juvenile court came about. And sometimes juvenile court is gone. There's what we call a pendulum, moving back and forth from rehabilitation to severe consequences, back and forth over the years. And for me, I try to stay right there, balanced.
Right there in the middle. Stay right there in the middle.
In the middle. There are cases where you got it the most severe.
Yeah.
And there are situations where you don't have to, and as a judge, you got to gauge that. And I think my years of being a judge, not just in juvenile court for 10 years, but municipal court for 7. So 17 years, that's a lot of time, I think, to be able to understand how to make those balanced decisions.
Yeah, agreed. Because like you said, that it's. Because like you said, you keep yourself in the middle, and it's like, it's like a pendulum, and yes, and I do feel like that, whenever, because I feel like that, okay, whenever these kids, like, whenever they get caught in trouble, they go to, and if they do go to court, then okay, then yes, they do get sentenced, to the juvenile center and stuff, but, nowadays, man, I feel like, but nowadays I just feel like that, okay, now they are getting more strict when it comes to minors, because because sometimes you got 15, 16-year-olds that get tried as adults sometimes, and then so, like, do you, like, when it comes to viewing the law, what do you have any certain type of view on it, since the law, since you've been in this, since you've been in the you've been in the in this field for for some years, and I just feel like that, like the laws, they're always changing, and they're also getting more stricter.
Well, I've been in juvenile court as a jurist for 10 years, and I've seen emphasis on finding young people over change during the time that I've been there. When I first started, there wasn't much emphasis on that, but we also didn't have the type of consistent murder charges and R.A.P charges that we do now. Yeah. So, while our cases have reduced, the more severe cases have increased. So there are more murder charges now for individuals who are juveniles than when I first started in 2012.
Yeah.
There are more R.A.Ps with firearms now than when I started in 2012. And so, but there are less other offenses, and because we've taken measures to try to reduce individuals' involvement in the juvenile justice system through our diversion programs that we have.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the bind over process, there are 2 ways that a youth can have a bind over matter initiated.
Yeah.
The court can do it by law, or the prosecutor.
Yeah.
Okay. So the county prosecutor has been more aggressive in the past couple of years than the former county prosecutor, and that may be due to the fact that there's a higher level of more severe cases coming through the system. That being said, the law says when you are 16 or 17 years old and you are alleged to have committed a Category 1 offense, then they have taken a lot of the discretion away from the judge, okay, in terms of bind overs. So a Category 1 offense is an offense where we're charged with murder, aggravated murder, attempted murder, okay? And so all that the state needs to do at that instance, one is to file the motion to bind over, and then we have a hearing, and I call it a mini trial, and that's because it's similar to a trial in that the attorneys have opening statements, they have closing statements, they uh, they do direct examination of a witness, cross-examine that witness as well, make objections, they submit evidence, exhibits, and there's admissibility issues on those. Sometimes, not sometimes, but yeah, and I rule on those particular issues. But the difference there is that the burden that the state has is much lower than they do at a trial. At a trial, they have to prove each and every element beyond a reasonable doubt. But at that hearing, to bind a youth over, they only have to show probable cause. So that's the second lowest level of proof that's needed. They show probable cause that the person was 16 or 17 years old, probable cause that the offense was committed, probable cause that they were the person who did it, even if they're complicit. They don't even have to be the principal party who's accused it, but they are deemed to be a part of that incident. They get bound over.
Wow.
16, 17 years old, see you later, and we have no discretion. The juvenile court is out of our hands, and and a lot of young people don't realize that until they get into court.
Yeah, because
is that why we get the crying scenes, or we see them crying like a baby because they find all this out?
Yeah, because that's what I'm like. Cause I was going to ask you, have you ever? Some of these kids ever feel remorseful sometimes, but then, yeah. Well, I guess that once they get tried as that adult and they get all them years handed to them, yeah, they be. Yeah, man, they literally be crying, man. They be crying like a clown, man.
And it's not just them; it's the parents. The parents are probably crying more than the kids because the kids want to, they want to put on this persona that they're tough, they're hard. They don't want anybody to see them, especially because of the environment that they're in. But the parents, they are crying when they're leaving the courtroom. And then for the 14 and 15-year-olds. Well, we have discretion there, even if it's a Category 1 offense, murder, attempted murder, murder, and so we don't have to bind them over. And so what you do is you look at the severity of the incident. Someone's dead, and this doesn't appear to be an accident. It appears to be intentional. So you're looking at that. You're looking at what history, if any, this 14 or 15-year-old has with the juvenile justice system. And there's a slew of other factors and the law which gives us a balance to determine, okay, can this youth be rehabilitated in the juvenile justice system?
Yeah.
And if I say, yes, they can, despite the severity of their offense, they stay. And I don't have to bind them over. And I've done that, a number of times. Aggravated robberies, where they aren't aggravated robberies, aggravated burglaries, felonious assaults, they've shot someone.
Yeah.
Even incidents of attempted murder, and we just felt that there's something different about this kid. And so we'll keep them I'll keep them in the juvenile justice system. Now, do they go home? No, they don't go home.
He said they don't go home.
They go to ODYS. Okay, or they're going to some other
they're a long way from home. Yes.
Some place where they can get the skills that they need, the treatment that they need to go back out in the community and not be a danger in the community. And so, for a 14, 15-year-old, sometimes they get what we call a serious youth offender. And what that means is that they get a juvenile sentence and an adult sentence. The adult sentence is stayed, provided that they do everything they're supposed to for the juvenile sentence. So if they're sent to ODYS, which is the prison system for young people, and they're compliant, and then they come home, and then parole ends, well, then the adult sentence is dissolved. can't order into execution. Now they get to ODYS, and they're acting a fool there, and they're not complying with the rules there. They're assaulting people. Um, they're just maybe they get even charged with another offense while they're there. Now they have to come back to the juvenile court for a hearing, and the court can say, "You weren't complying. You didn't do what you were supposed to." Now we're going to impose the adult sentence.
Oh, they're going to do disciplinary action for real, 2.0, which is the adult sentence.
So now they get sent to the adult system.
Oh, and that's when we see them crying on TV, really.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, there are a lot of opportunities through the juvenile justice system for young people to change, and it's on them and their families to take advantage of those before we get to the point where we do this. We wash our hands. Yeah. We've tried almost everything with this young person,
and that's what youth fail to realize, because they, in a way, they do get some chances in the system. You know what I mean? Because they're minors, and if they're not getting charged as adults, then yeah, like you said, they do have time to change. But once it's over to the adult sentence, then they can just forget it.
Yeah, and I try to tell the young people that come before me who I don't try to tell them, I do tell them, and I give them opportunities to not have to go to ODYS or CCF or residential treatment, or to have to be sent or bound over. Listen, do what you're supposed to through the juvenile justice system. I'm here to tell you that if you do it the right way, it works.
Yeah.
And you can avoid any more interaction with the system. But if you buck against it, then there are consequences that you don't really want to feel. It'll feel like a 1,000-pound building landing.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Yeah. So well, at least the most. I mean, the most you can do is just tell them, and then if they're serving a juvenile sentence, then hopefully they can learn their lesson with that, and then I guess you have to see what goes on, what goes on from there. And so since we was talking about parents, and because I've heard some people say like, oh, they blame it when the kid is bad, they want to blame it on the parents, and do you feel like that right there is something that is kind of like more common, like as far as because like you said that maybe something that like the kid experienced when growing up, like would you necessarily say that falls into that category, on how the way the parents had raised them, or if they didn't try to teach them right from wrong?
For the most part, most of the parents who come into court, they have, given their child life lessons, and have, tried to guide them in the right way, even if the parents themselves have been involved in the criminal justice system one way or the other. Okay, and so the parents are, some are saying, I don't want you to follow the same path that I went. Or there's maybe one parent who is not involved, and there's another one, and that parent is absent from the family setting. And so you got this one parent who's really trying hard to give their son and or daughter the tools that they need to be able to avoid involvement with law enforcement and with the system. And so, I see them when they come in, and they are distraught. They are upset. They are frustrated at times with their kids. And say, you know better, and look what you've done. And so those are the type of parents that are pretty much on board if they have the time and energy with the rehabilitative process. Those are the ones that make sure that their son or daughter they're getting to the rehabilitative programs, if they're after school, if they're doing school, they're making sure that they stay connected with our probation department. They're telling me when Johnny or Jill isn't being compliant with probation services. So those are the ones that I like. But then you have the other parents who just don't care. They're too tired because they've got too many other kids. And this is the one, or maybe this is the one kid who's just out of control. Or there are parents who have legacies in the system because there's 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got 3 or 4 of them, doing the same thing on the docket at the same time. You know, those are parents who aren't buying in. They don't care. They're not buying into the rehabilitative process. When the parents don't buy in, the kids don't buy in. So what happens there? That kid is probably going to have another case.
Yeah.
And, when they get the other case, I'm obviously more stern at this point and a little bit more heavy-handed because I said, I gave you a chance. Now we're back. And what I also try to do to try to avoid getting to the recidivism, the next case, is that there's a provision within the law that gives me the ability to hold a parent accountable.
Yeah.
Say, okay, if you are being a hindrance to the rehabilitative process, I can charge you with contempt. Yeah. And if you're charged with contempt and found guilty of that, now you're looking at 30 days at the county jail and a $250 fine. And so
they're gonna be crying then,
right?
When you say county jail.
And so that piques the parents' interest. They say, "Wait a minute, you can do what? Yes, I can."
Yep.
So now, that'll light a fire under them to get their children more engaged in the process. Because a lot of the services that we provide, a lot of the programs we provide to these kids are evidence-based, which means that we've done them before and we've seen the results, and that's why we're sending you here. Yeah. Okay. And we want you to take full ownership of it so that you don't come back. I don't want to see you.
Yeah, you say you don't want to see. You say I don't want to see you in my courtroom again. Right. Yeah.
Now I do see kids often because I do reviews with my kids. So if I put you on community control, you better believe that I'm going to see you again. 90 days, 60 days. I want to check to see that you are progressing at the rate that I expect you to.
That's what Michael's the parole officer there, probation officer. Yeah, he's doing his checkups on them.
Oh yeah, because I found when I was a judge for the adult system, the more contact I had with people, the better that they did on community control. And so I said that's actually even better for kids because they want to do good. They want to impress those who are adults. They want to do well for those who care about them.
Yeah.
And I show them I care about you. I want to see you flourish. I don't want to see you out here acting a fool and victimizing the people in this community. That's for sure. But I do want to see you do better. I want you to reach your full potential. And the only way you're going to do that is following these directions.
Yeah. And now, so me, because I like to watch a lot of like crime shows and stuff. And, one of the shows I used to watch was, Beyond Scared Straight. Do you feel like that like really the parents, that sometimes is the parents do want the kid to suffer, like they want to see their kid go to jail or like they want to see their kid go to juvie, something like that, just so they can learn a lesson? Like, have you ever had a parent actually say, "Oh man, I want to okay." Have you ever had a parent say like, "Oh man, send him to jail, or like send him to juvie. Let him learn his lesson."
I have had parents ask me to do that, but I have to evaluate what's in the best interest of the youth.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what the parents want all the time. So I listen to what the parents are asking, both when they're asking me to release them, as well as asking me to impose different consequences. Because if the parents asking for this different consequences, I got to take a step back and say, what's really going on in their family? And I usually get children and family services involved to get me a better feel of why this parent would make that request. Because what mom or what dad says, I don't want my kid in the home.
Yeah. Okay. Man, dude, man. Well, this right here has been very, very interesting, man. I mean, this is definitely, I'd say this is definitely one of my interesting episodes, man. Yes, because the justice system is very interesting, and and a judge. Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, I remember when I was I think when I was in high school, maybe I thought about being a judge. I don't know why. I don't know, probably because I just thought it was probably fun or something like that. But yeah, dude, this is definitely interesting, and for those listening, or if you're just now tuning in, make sure you vote for Michael John Ryan for the Ohio 8th District Court of Appeals, and because that's what he's currently running for, and he got his campaign going right now. He's out there, man, trying to make a difference, and also, November 8th is when they start doing the elections. Yes, and Michael, man, yes, definitely want to thank you, man, for coming on, man. I had enjoyed you, and and while we are and before we go, and before we go into the break and stuff and everything, any shout outs you want to give or anything?
Yeah, shout out to my wife, Robin Ryan. I know she's listening. My kids, Michael Ryan, Lauren Conway, Henry Conway, Kate Ryan. All of them, love my family. My sister, Cherise, I don't know if she's listening. She doesn't really get into the internet too much. Cousins all over, nieces, nephews, uncles, aunts, love everybody who's part of this family. I just want to impress upon people to vote, especially for me, on or before November 8th. And I say on or before because early voting starts October 12th. You can go right across the street from this radio station location.
Yep.
At the 30th in Euclid Avenue at the Board of Election. I think that address is actually 2925. 2925 Euclid Avenue. And vote in person. Bring your identification with you and cast your vote for Judge Ryan. Why is that important? Well, I'll just say this. There are 69 appellate court judges in the state of Ohio. And out of that 69, only one of them is a black male.
Wow.
So when you talk about the need for diversity at that level, it's a drastic need. And I just don't bring diversity just in the form of who I am, but diversity in terms of thought, diversity in terms of practice, and diversity in terms of the type of course that I've actually sat in. So for the last 20 years, I've been a judicial officer. I was a magistrate for 4.5 years, a judge at municipal court level for 7, and now a common pleas juvenile court judge for 10. So that's 20 plus years of making the same type of judicial decisions that I would review as a appellate court judge. So I think that gives me the unique perspective of being able to sit in that seat. I've been endorsed by the Colorado County Democratic Party, by SEIU, a number of labor organizations asked me. I've been endorsed by the Collective Path, the Cleveland Stonewall Dems, Young Dems, Ohio Young Black Dems. And I want people to go to judgeforyourself.com as well.
Right.
Ask that you guys promote that too, because Judge for Yourself was a group of bar associations made up of attorneys, and they do objective evaluations of each judicial candidate.
Yeah.
And then they have ratings for those particular candidates. You could be rated as not recommended. You could be rated as satisfactory. You could be rated as good, and then you could be rated as excellent. So out of the 6 bar associations that rated me, I received 5 excellence and 1 good. My opponent didn't receive any excellence.
Oh, snap.
So
see, that's something Judge Mathis would have done to his
I'm
opponent, man.
aware
That's
of
why
that
he's the Judge Mathis of Cleveland. Yes. He doesn't cut. He ain't cutting no slack.
None. And so I want people to realize that and understand that when it's time to go vote, and know that when you vote for Judge Ryan, you're voting for a person with integrity, a person with tenacity, a person with intellect, and a person with experience, and also someone who has empathy. I'm the son of a 14-year-old drug addicted mother. Didn't meet my biological father until I was, like I said, 25 years old. Stepfather involved in drugs as well. Beat my mother up a lot, so I experienced domestic violence growing up. My mom, I lived all over the city, but I spent like about 4 years, which the longest I spent in any one neighborhood as a child in the Longwood projects. And so when our family got to Longwood, completely disintegrated because my stepdad wanted to go into prison. My mom's drug use got worse. My sister and I were neglected a lot. And then when my stepdad's mom came in, she rescued us from Longwood, but couldn't save my mother. And at the age of 28, she died from her drug use. I was 13. And then my grandmother, who I was living with at the time, my step-grandmother, she died the year after my mother. So I had to go live with one step-on and another step-on. And then my mother's mom came on my last year of high school. So by the time I graduated from Heights High School, I had attended 11 different schools from kindergarten to 10th grade.
Oh, wow.
I was not supposed to be the kid who's in this position today. But my faith, my belief in God, and my work ethic, you combine those two, is the reason why I graduated from Heights High with a scholarship, went to Allegheny College, received scholarships there, came home to go to Cleveland Marshall Law School, received scholarships there, passed the bar my first try at age 25. I've been a licensed attorney since then. And so, when you vote for me, I believe you're voting for the right person for this seat.
Yeah. Yes. Well, hey, y'all heard him, man. You get out there and vote. He told y'all where to vote.
Yeah.
Definitely, man, vote for my frat, man. He's definitely been a good choice.
I appreciate that, Mark.
Yes. And so we're about to get ready to go into a music break. Again, frat man, thank you for coming on. Definitely, man. We'd like to have you back on again in the future. And we'll be right back with the Rap Radio Show.
I'll come back.
Yeah. You got time to say it? Oh, yeah.
I can walk a little further, show you how to dance when it rains. You can be my I just don't know how to love you the same. You don't love me, but you want me. A circle that will change your life. I love you and I want you, but it feels like we're out of time. I wish you knew what you wanted. Stop pushing me away. We could be somebody. I swear, you're not mine. It don't matter no more time. It don't matter. You and I. It don't matter. We need time. It don't matter. Well, I think it's getting better. Could you be mine? I don't know about forever. Yesterday we were fine. Well, I love to see you in the morning. The light in your eyes. Where the pain has got me faded. I can't find my soul. It don't matter.
Oh man, Marie, you gotta tell me what. Oh, he's on the thing. I see you over there. Let me introduce myself. Yeah, I heard about you. How they call you Indie Jazz or something like that?
That's right.
My name's Trap.
That's right.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.